Hey, this is Phil from Sacred Reich, and you're listening to What's Metal.
It's great to have a couple of minutes with you tonight, Phil. Actually, it's in 27 years of the existence of our show. I think this is the first proper feature that we do on Sacred Reich. Actually, beforehand, we never really had the chance to meet in person. So I'm really pleased with that. So I prepared questions that might not be the very usual ones. Yeah, if there's anything that you don't want to answer, just let me know. Yeah. Okay. So let's get started. If you think back, can you still remember maybe a moment in your life when you thought, okay, I really have to pick up an instrument, I have to form a band? Was there some special moment where you had that feeling and then things got started?
Well, I remember as a kid I wanted to play drums. My parents were like, no way, you're not playing drums. And I had a friend who played guitar. I was about 13. And he's like, get a bass, we'll jam. And that was pretty much, I got a bass and we started jamming. So it was pretty simple. I think most people are the same. It's a friend, or there's a guitar in the house, or a parent, or a, a relative, then it's like, let's do it. Or, yeah, I mean, we had a piano in the house. I never would take piano lessons, and now I wish I would have, because I probably understand music, because I don't have any clue what I'm doing, but it seems to be working out somehow.
But then again, with the piano, it's fairly difficult to move across the stage, with a...
Absolutely. It's funny, Billy Joel, he said, I wanted to play guitar, and he starts playing Cream. He's like, I want to do this. He goes, until I met Christy Brinkley, like his supermodel wife, he met her. He was playing piano in a hotel and met her. He goes, and then I wanted to call my parents and thank them for giving me piano lessons. So I thought that was very sweet.
Do you still remember the first time that you stood on stage with a band, and what was that like?
Vaguely. I mean, I remember wanting to join Sacred Reich because I just wanted to play shows. I played in a band with a couple friends. We do like parties and play at people's house parties. And I just wanted to play in a bar. That was my goal, So I was 16 and we started playing shows out, and it was cool.
What were your parents thinking about that music and when you started out? And also, I mean, initially, you started touring pretty soon, right? So what were the feelings like?
We started touring, I think I was 19 for me, they were happy. I mean, my mom, I dropped out of high school to go make our first record. And my mom's a teacher, so it was always hard for her that she's like, you'll always regret it. And I said, I haven't regretted for 5 minutes, So for her, I think it was difficult because she has a certain way of thinking about how things should be, but I wasn't caught up in that. I knew what I wanted to do at an early age, and we just went and did it.
So what were the early reactions like from your, whatever, circle of friends, let's say? Were there any negative criticisms as well for that type of music?
Everybody I know played music. Everybody played guitar, and, everybody was in bands. So we were just lucky, that somehow we had an opportunity and, to keep going, we put a song on a Metal Massacre compilation through Metal Blade, and then we got a record deal, and then we made a record, and then we did like 4 shows. We couldn't get an agent or a tour, and then we did Surf Nicaragua, and that's when we really actually started touring. It was like Christmas of '88. We came over and played with Motorhead, Destruction, Candlemass, and Coroner. And that was our first time over here, and these Christmas festivals, and they were incredible, and we've just been kind of going ever since.
So you just mentioned the very early releases there. What was it like to hold the first release in your hand? What kind of moment is that?
Pretty amazing. I mean, even just even that we were offered a recording contract was like, what? And then we were in like a real proper studio. We're like, can you believe we're doing this? And then, I remember going and seeing our records, having our records. Everything's a big thrill, I mean, because it's what you've been working for a long time, and that's your dream, so it's still like that, we get to play shows, we get to do this after all these years, we're very fortunate. So that was just the beginning of it, and we were just young and dumb. I was talking to Andreas on the tour we did in the U.S. together, and we were like, we had no idea what we were doing, none of us. And had we known what we were doing, we probably would have quit, because if you knew what was coming and you knew how hard it was going to be, you'd probably find something easier to do. Yeah. But you don't know, and you think, this is it. This is, I'm going to be the one, when the odds are stacked against you. And you just go for it, and no regrets. We're very lucky in this life.
Yeah. I mean, comparing the early tours to maybe this tour now with Sepultura, how different is this today? I mean, in terms of, let's say, day-to-day life on tour?
Well, we're older. We've been around the block a few times. We know not to make a big deal out of things. Life is full of ups and downs, and as long as we know life is full of ups and downs, when they come, it's not a surprise. And from experience that whatever comes your way, you can just deal with it, and it's not going to be a big deal, and you should just appreciate things and pay attention and look at things in the right way. And then also, compared to the early days, having a phone, being able to communicate, I mean, it's so much easier in so many ways with maps and knowing where you are. I mean, we had no clue. The money was all different in every country. There were borders everywhere. This is much easier. Except this Brexit bullshit, but outside of that, I was telling my English friend, I go, look, America's dumb and voted for Trump, but you guys voted for Boris and Brexit, so it's all dumb. But I got off track, but it's great to tour now. It was great to tour then. It's just different, with life experience and technology changing. Life's a lot easier when you have Google Maps and you can see what's around and find stuff to eat. Like Dave's vegan, so he's got a Happy Cow app. Yeah. And it shows all the vegan restaurants around, and there's tons of them, so I can call my wife whenever I want. I remember going down to the Hauptbahnhof, at like the middle of the night and pumping Deutschmarks into the phone to call her. This is much easier.
May I ask how she's doing now?
She's doing much, much better. I don't know if she'll ever be 100% again. We don't know. So we just keep going because this is great. At the time, we didn't even know if she would be alive, or in what state, So it was a really big lesson to just try to stay in the present moment. Because, the first night she was in the hospital was the highest level of anxiety I've ever experienced my whole life. And I knew it was because I was getting ahead of myself. Like, what if she doesn't make it? What if she doesn't, blah, blah, blah. And, I'd say, what if she doesn't make it? I'd say, well, what if she does? What if she is in a coma for the rest of her life? Well, what if she isn't? We don't know. And all we can do is be here now and deal with things. And that's it. So we're very fortunate, I think about Andreas, and he lost his wife Patricia, and we're lucky. Sandy made it. Not everybody is that lucky. So, yeah, that's great. Thank you for asking.
Oh yeah, because I was wondering, because with the fundraiser, I know a lot of friends, and including us as well. We know we donated money for the cause. Yeah. I'm not bringing this up because I wanted to tell you, but
it's interested. Yeah, look, it was a public thing. I mean, the American medical system is just broken irreparably. And my wife was a nurse, and she was an ICU nurse, and she worked at the hospital she wound up in. And when the pandemic came, I said, you have to leave your job. It's the most dangerous place in the whole city to be there. And, I'm like, I have asthma and I'm compromised. And if we get it, I'm afraid something bad's going to happen. I would be in that group of at-risk people, So I said, I'd rather be poor with you on the street than alone. And then, we had this experience anyhow. So there's no real protection from anything. Life happens. But I don't know, man. We're really lucky, and hopefully she'll get back to 100%. I mean, she can't get back to work or anything yet, like her energy level, but hopefully she will be, and we'll find out, But if this is as good as it gets, we're very fucking lucky.
Has she ever been out on tour with you? Does she know what
In the past she had, and she's just not up to traveling. Like, we talked about her coming, but she's just not up to it.
All right, so maybe let's get back to the show then today. So is there any way how you prepare before you go on stage? Is there a certain ritual or anything?
No, we just all hang out together. Like, we were in the habit of doing a shot together before the show. Because a long time ago, we did a shot together before the show at one show, and the show went really good. We're like, maybe that's the reason. Okay. But me and Dave don't really do that anymore. I don't drink, so doing a shot, I'm like, it's not for me anymore. But we just do it. We play a song. We all get together, and the song comes on, and we know it's time to get going, and we just hang out together and fist bump each other and just get nothing extravagant.
And then after the show, what's the first thing that you do then?
Take a shower because I'm sweaty and gross.
Yeah, that's the obvious stuff, obviously. Right, yeah.
Nothing special. Well, it's not, we just do our thing, man, It's nothing special before, nothing special after. We just enjoy each other's company and hang out,
So as a band, or as maybe also as a fan, did you ever in your life had trouble with security? Were you ever beaten up by security or bouncers or?
Well, we've had some issues with people who aren't treating the fans with the proper respect, but there was almost a big riot in upstate New York once. Yeah. But yeah, and in New Mexico once with the cops and the local government. And sometimes, but very, very, very rarely, There was a show we played once at the Omni in Oakland, and it was when Phil Demmel was still in Violence, and he's friends. We were friends, and he got on stage, just jumped up to sing, and the security guy tackled him. I jumped in after him, and me and him were fighting with the security guys. I'm like, come on, man. There's no reason to be overzealous, I really don't think there's a reason for overzealous security. So everybody just chill. If you treat people with respect, generally they treat you with respect. And we're all here to have a good time. And without the fans, there's no show. So there's no reason not to treat them as you would your own kids or whoever it is,
So what is the best thing that fans can give you?
What do you mean?
In terms of, maybe how they approach you or how they treat you or how they react at the shows, the fans, yeah.
I don't know. However they want, it's like.
So you never have, on the other end, you never have fans that kind of like become annoying or.
Some people, very, 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 very rarely, if you were in the middle of doing something, right, and somebody is very insistent about doing something, and even in those circumstances, it's usually just easier to take the picture, sign the thing, and move along instead of trying to explain to someone why you're in a hurry and you can't do it right now. So mostly, like if people are waiting around with a record and they're waiting to get signed, you got something to do, you just tell them, hey, I need to go do this and I'll be back. Because that's what it's about. We appreciate people who want that, and we appreciate the people that come. And I can't even think of really any circumstances that somebody was really problematic. 100 years ago, the first time we went to Greece in 1990, there were these special forces, American army guys at the show. And the previous night we were in Athens, I had slept with the window open, and there was a lot of pollution affecting my asthma. So after the show, we played in Thessaloniki. I was feeling really bad all day, feeling bad during the show, and I was just trying to chill after the show. And these guys wanted to come back and say hello. And Gloria was managing us at the time, and she was telling them, no, Phil doesn't feel good, he doesn't feel good. And they just kept putting, they were big physical dudes, And then they got back, and she said, you guys are really pushy, and they thought she called them a name. And the one guy almost went berserk, and his friend was trying to calm him down. I walked over, and I'm like, hey, man, she's just trying to protect me because I don't feel good. What do you need? Let's just... I thought he was going to murder us all with his thumbs. I thought he was going to kill everybody in the room, but it worked out. Most times things are a misunderstanding, I think, at most.
Is there, in your set, is there a song that is particularly difficult to pull off live, would you think? Or
no, we probably wouldn't put it in our set if it was difficult to pull off live. We plan ahead for that. No. Okay. No. I think songs that might be difficult, we just don't play. When we're putting together a set, we try to play the songs that we like to play and the songs that we know that the people want, and try to strike a balance. I mean, we only play 10 songs, I think, in a set, and like we were cutting it down. Like we played some 4 headline shows in Germany before we started. We're like, and they're like, "Where'd this song go? Where'd that song go?" I'm like, "Well, what do you want to replace it with?" I couldn't even imagine like a band, and we only have a handful of records. I can't imagine bands that have real long catalogs and how they even cull them down into a set. But good for them.
If you look back at your entire catalog, what would you think is your favorite song, and what's the worst song that you ever wrote?
I don't know. I mean, a current favorite song. I mean, every band always tells you their new record's their favorite because they haven't been playing it for 20 or 30 years. It's fresh. I love playing Salvation, and I love the meaning behind it, that we're all together. And music is a form of salvation that has an opportunity to unite us, And then also Manifest Reality, just because of the lyrics, be the change you want to see, that no one's coming to save us. And if we really want to change the world, we have to change ourselves. We can't change other people. We have no control over other people. We barely can control ourselves. So, I tell everybody every night, if you want more peace in the world, be peace. If you want more love in the world, be it. It's the only way. Ram Dass said something like, the best thing I can do for you is work on myself. The best thing you can do for me is work on yourself. That's what else can we do? This is the important stuff. This is the meaningful stuff. This is the stuff that, that we all even know, but we just need to be reminded of so it's in the front of our mind. And, I remember one of my teachers said intellectual knowledge is useless. Just to know something isn't enough if you don't put it into practice on a daily basis. Knowing that you should be more kind and compassionate is one thing. Being more kind and compassionate is something else. So, when we play, I just like to put positive stuff out there, remind people, what they already know. And I just want people to have fun and smile and have a great time. And song that I dislike, there's actually, I don't think we would ever play No Believers again just because I think it's rude. It's a rude song, and I have more respect for people and people's beliefs and what they want to believe, even if it's not what I believe, There's a line. And then the other song, I was like, the song that I love the idea of is 31 Flavors, but I can't listen to it because I don't think like we executed it real well, and like when I'm singing, I'm like, oof, it's a little cringy for me. And if I had to do it all over again, I probably wouldn't even put it on the record. But it's there. It's too late. And still the message is the same. And that came from just touring a lot and making mixtapes. I would make mixtapes before we would go on. And it would be like Slayer, Metallica, James Brown, Dark Angel, Red Hot Chili Peppers. And people used to throw stuff at the sound guy. And he's like, don't yell at me. Tell Phil he made the tape. And I thought, come on. Just because you like metal doesn't mean you can't like other stuff. And there's people that are like, if it's not metal, it sucks. And I totally get it. Our friend Stephanie Cabral, she's a photographer, takes a lot of pictures. I'll be playing music while we're doing it. She's like, that's not metal. She's the most metal person I know. So I understand. But I think music is wonderful, and there's so many varieties. And it's great to listen to everything. And just because you like Slayer doesn't mean you can't like John Coltrane, or Ella Fitzgerald, You can. You can like everything.
Then, our show is called What's Metal? There must be something about metal, right? You're playing metal, so is there a definition for it, or what makes it special?
A definition for metal? No, I don't think so. It's just, for me, it's just the aggressiveness. And when we started, with the lyrics and the things that we were saying, kind of railing against how things were, political systems that are fucked up. It's easy to just be upset and be angry. And this was one of the things that we had to come to terms with on the new record, too. It's like, can you write metal songs and not be angry? Can you do it without anger? I'm like, yeah. you can be energetic, right? You can be motivated, but you don't have to be angry, because I'm not angry at stuff. But, when I read the lyrics of Death Squad or something like that, and I'm like, I was upset with the situation that was going on. And I still sing them, and it still kind of pisses me off, that those things happen. But I'm just more accepting of things as I get older,
Yeah. So it's a different kind of energy nowadays than you meant.
Much different, yeah. And even when we played Death Squad, and I could just feel it, and I want to grit my teeth and bang my head, but I also look up and I smile and I appreciate where we're at and what we're able to do and the people that are there in the pit and we're very lucky.
So if you were to swap instruments with any of the other band members, what would you pick, or with whom would you swap?
You mean if I was proficient? If I was...
It's your choice.
Well, I always wanted to play drums. My parents wouldn't let me. And me and Jason, our old guitar player, used to sit at practice and do drum offs. And neither of us are very good. And I write songs on guitar, and I'm not very good at it, enough to just get the idea down. So I like to do all of it, I guess. Yeah. I like to play piano and saxophone too, but I'm not going to do any of that.
Saxophone even, yeah? Okay, well.
It's cool sound.
Right, okay. I think that's an instrument that I never really understood, maybe sound-wise. So.
Or trumpet, like Louis Armstrong. That would be killer. No one's ever going to play like Louis Armstrong anyhow, so I can't even breathe with my asthma, so forget playing trumpet. Bad enough I got to sing.
So as a band, when you're on tour, obviously you have a rider, with the stuff that you need or want. Is there any item on there that you would think is maybe a little bit extravagant that you could do without?
No, we don't have extravagant riders, It's just like water and some snacks and... No, man. The crew guys are like, hey, can we put on this kind of beer or this kind of... I'm like, yeah, go ahead, man. We don't care. We're all in it together, and everybody should have the things that they want. I mean, I'm pretty much just kind of like water. And, Dave's vegan, so he's got to have some vegan stuff on there. But nothing I would consider extravagant in any sort of way. No, sorry.
Yeah. All right. So when I speak to people that have been... in the scene since a long time, or touring bands that have been touring for many, many years, quite often, their hearing is somewhat fucked, yeah, if I can say it like this. So is your hearing okay, or?
My hearing's fine. The doctor's like, you have above average hearing. I'm like, good.
Oh, right, okay.
I think it's not to divulge too much information, but I think my ears are overactive in producing wax. So I think it protects it, like, for years. I don't know. Like when you're in the studio, you can still hear little things, and I think as a musician, you develop a keen sense of hearing, it's important. But I'm lucky. I think all drummers live in hell because their head is right by cymbals, which is pretty much noise. But I think people are much better now about wearing ear protection. It's hard for me as a singer. I can't put stuff in my ears. It changes everything.
Okay. This even includes in-ear monitors, or?
I don't use those.
They've become pretty popular now, yeah.
My friends that use them think they're great, and you can hear real good, and they said makes you play better. But it's involved, and like I don't want the kind of... You get a little isolated from each other and from the crowd, and I prefer not being isolated to improved hearing, I guess, is what... Yeah, you make a choice. I mean, look, all the big bands use them. There's probably a reason, and there's a way around it. They put room mics in and crowd mics so you can hear. But I mean, even just communicating on stage and talking to each other, you can't hear. And I'd rather just keep it like that. I'm used to not hearing myself sing. I'm used to crappy monitors. So at this point, it's fine. It may change it sometime, but I don't really see it.
So last question for tonight. I mean, for young bands that are starting out now, what would be your advice?
Quit and go back to school. I tell everybody, don't do it. Don't do it. And they go, I have to. I go, don't do it. They go, I need to. I go, good. Then go do it. Because you have to need to. It's not easy. It's too hard. Most people just won't do it. But if you love music, just do it. Just do it because you love it. Don't do it because you think you're going to get rich or make a bunch of money, because you're not. Yeah. Very, 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 very few people do. And if you do it because you love it, you do it because who you are and what you need to do, an expression of everything that you are, then you're doing it for the right reason. Just fucking go for it. Don't listen to what other people tell you. Follow your heart. Do your thing. Don't listen. Everybody's got a fucking opinion. Just do your thing. You know, it takes a long time, I think, to figure out who you are, just in your personal life, period. And that goes for being a band, too. This is who we are. This is what we do. And that's fine. Sometimes the question is, you have a kind of like a left field song, which isn't typically what you do. You go, is this what we do? Well, if it came from us, it's what we do. Are you brave enough to put it out is the question. You know, we've had this talk about a couple songs recently, you know. Like, are these going to go on the next record? Is this a Sacred Reich song? Like, well, if we wrote it, it's a Sacred Reich song, isn't it? I'm like, well, is it?
Well, you already did 31 flavors, yeah? So you have a lot of space to navigate.
This is more of like a novelty, right? This was so far out in left field, it has nothing to do with what we're doing. That was more to make a point. But, you know, I think on Awakening too, there's some kind of like rock, more rock than, you know, metal songs, and I think there's a couple kind of like rock songs, you know. So we'll see if we're brave enough to put some of these songs on the record. Yeah, we'll see.